everyone, welcome back or welcome to the 30-day wellness journey. We are on day 28. I am so impressed and so incredibly proud of you. Day 28. You've been sticking to your wellness for 28 days. And also I'm starting to get a little bit sad. I cannot believe that the 30-day wellness journey is almost coming to an end. We've got 3 more days today and the 29th and the 30th. But don't worry, there's going to be a surprise in the 30th day, and I cannot wait to share that with you. Day 28 is all about imposter syndrome. And what is imposter syndrome and why is that included in the 30-day wellness journey? Imposter syndrome is when we believe that we are either not qualified, we're not good enough, we don't have enough confidence, we are not in the right place, right time. Imposter syndrome really makes us believe that we're a fraud. For example, you want to start one of your goals and you might have this belief, who am I to start this goal? Who am I to have this dream? That is called imposter syndrome. Not believing that who you are on day 28 is worthy and deserving of everything you desire. That is imposter syndrome. We can see this really frequently in our profession. For example, let's say you want to apply for a job and you're like, oh, I'm not really qualified for it. And then you get the job and you're like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna know that I didn't meet bullet point number 4, and everyone's gonna see it and everyone's gonna think I'm a fraud. And we start to build and build and build, and then no one is even questioning it, but yet we build. Another example of imposter syndrome that I see so frequently is with our personal goals. We think, well, what if people say that it was easy to get there? Or what if people say, wow, she just got lucky? Instead of saying, no, I actually put in the hours, I put in the work, I put in the time, I put in this, I did all the behind the scenes that no one knows about, the late nights, the tears, the sweat. Oh, I'm still an imposter. Imposter syndrome is all about your internal experience based off the fear of your reality. You are so afraid that someone is going to call you out, that someone is going to say, who do you think you are to have that goal, to be on that stage, to be sharing your goals, or to be creating that content, or to have that business, or to be at the gym, or to be lifting weights that way? Who do you think you are? And what happens is we create this monster in our mind, and that monster constantly gets nurtured by our fear. Again, our fear is false evidence appearing real. And we go through life and we have this, what we carry, this imposter syndrome. I'm this fraud, and one day someone's going to find out. And then no one finds out. And we think tomorrow someone will find out. And then again, no one finds out. So we keep creating this big monster in our head that is fueled by fear. The best way to combat imposter syndrome is what we've talked about in so many videos: self-love. Self-love is going to bridge that gap, because when you start to love yourself and you start to see that you are worthy and deserving and you don't need any extra credentials or extra classes or extra XYZ in order to be that, we will see that we are enough and we do not need to fear that we are an imposter. Why imposter syndrome is so important to talk about in regards to wellness is because when things start to get really good, such as day 28, you've created a habit of tending to your needs, we self-sabotage. But that's why we talked about self-sabotage a couple days ago. We've got that word, and when we start to believe we're a fraud, for example, maybe you start sharing about your workout, maybe you're new to the gym and you start sharing about your workout and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you tell me in a month. And then this happens as a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you have this monster in your head that says, no one thinks I'm going to make it to a month. And then you don't make it to a month. And you're like, see, they were right. They knew I couldn't make it to a month of working out consistently. Imposter syndrome, if we don't nurture our self-love and we don't nurture that identity, again, we talk, all the videos are coming together, I'm telling you. That identity of who we want to become and who we want to embody, that worthiness, self-love, all of that can help turn down the dial of the imposter syndrome. When we stop doing our non-negotiables, taking care of ourselves, focusing on our wellness, we let fear take over, and when fear takes over, fear nurtures the imposter inside of us. We all have experienced imposter syndrome. Maybe when you were in school and they put you in a special group and you're like, man, I'm not really that advanced. Or your boss asked you to lead something and you're like, do they not know that I'm not really qualified for this? Or maybe you have all of the credentials and you're like, man, someone else has more credentials, someone else has more this, more that. Someone else has all of these things that I don't have. And we're constantly focusing on how we're comparing to someone else instead of looking at all the amazing ways that led us to that opportunity in the first place. Imposter syndrome can be diminished with self-love, because when we love ourselves enough, we could care less about if someone thinks we're a fraud because we know the truth, we know our identity. But when we start to question our reality, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I skinny enough? When we start to question that, that's because we're letting fear take over versus self-love. And there's a book I read, or maybe an article or a podcast or YouTube, they all blend together. And two things happen. We either lead with love or we lead with fear. Every single day we have the choice to lead with love or to lead with fear. And what do we choose? That's what happens. Imposter syndrome is led with fear and self-love is led with love. Your reflective question is, how has imposter syndrome held you back in the past? Think about something you've wanted to do, be, or see, and that fear in your brain says, oh, that's not meant for you. Oh, you're not qualified. Nope. Just try again. You don't have enough confidence. You can't pull that off, this or that. Your reflective question is, how has imposter syndrome held you back? We all struggle with imposter syndrome. I've never met one person who has not struggled with that. So if you're sitting here being like, oh, this is too much, Alyssa, I need you to understand this is a natural human experience, because we are designed to compare ourselves to others. And the reason that we're designed to compare ourselves to others, for example, it always goes back to hunter-gatherer, because our brain hasn't quite caught up with the technology. So our brain is still just stuck for survival. And if the brain is saying everyone else is doing better than you, you're the lowest in the pack, ooh, this is a bad sign because you're not going to be able to keep up. And also on the flip side, if you think you're better than everyone else, you're going to be an island. And if you're on an island, you cannot survive without the tribe. So it really struggles. It doesn't want you to be too confident, and it doesn't want you to have no confidence at all. It constantly wants us to compare to see where we're at. And then we get to say, dear body, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe, but I don't need that level of safety because I am okay. Your inspired action is for you to write a letter, and your letter could be a sentence, a paragraph, or a full letter on why your goals are meant for you. Sometimes we think that our goals that we have in our heart are just, maybe I watched this TikTok and that TikTok talked about their goals and I said, that's my goal. No, it doesn't work like that. For example, if you wanted to be a chef, you probably have no desire to be a dancer, or vice versa. It's important for you to acknowledge the desires in your heart. When we can nurture our inner compass, everything is in alignment. So your inspired action is to write a letter of why your goals are meant for you and why it is safe to go after your goals. Amazing work. We've got 2 more days. You are doing so amazing. Don't give up. Don't self-sabotage. Stay consistent, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video.